It is the Matt Mosley Show and Rogue Media Network. More and more folks coming over. Great to have you today. Lots to, we had a lot happening before the show yesterday. We've had more happen today. And then legendary Oklahoma columnist, used to be with the Oklahoma, now with the Tulsa World, Barry Tramel will be joining us to talk about a couple different things, including the firing of Mike Gundy, and then the injury to John Mateer, which is shaking up the Heisman race. He was the Heisman hopeful. You wonder kind of when exactly this happened during the game, but he'll have to have surgery on his right hand. Scotty Swingler with me as always, and Scotty he was away on assignment yesterday. Zach Burke filling in for him, but great to have Scotty back today. Scotty, you missed out on all the interesting times yesterday with Gundy getting fired. And I guess we knew, Scotty, it was going to happen, and it is going in the wrong direction, and it was going in the wrong direction last season. But you hate it. I mean, as much as Baylor people couldn't stand Gary Patterson, I mean, the truth of the matter is, like somebody that's been that great for that long of a period of time, you just kind of hate to see it end like it did for Gundy. And in time, they'll celebrate him, and he'll be if he's not already in the Oklahoma State Hall of Fame. He was a quarterback there, so maybe he's already in there. And quite honestly, I think Patterson already had a statue while he was there. Same thing for Bob Stoops. I don't think we have a Gundy statue, but someday the visor, I think that should be the case. But
mullet. Yeah. Make sure there's a mullet on that statue.
I think the mullet became synonymous with Coach Gundy. But man, I don't know. I just kind of feel sad. I mean, who knows? I think that could, obviously it's been a good program. The Big 12 in some ways remains kind of wide open. Like, I'm just talking about the future of the Big 12. So there's two different things. First of all, Scotty, I think you and I need to have a discussion on, like, is this a good job? Like, is it, certainly from where some people are in the group of five, I should say, coaches, yes, it would be a step up. Like, is it a good job in relation to like UCLA and Virginia Tech? Like, is it better than both of those jobs? I think that's the discussion to be had. But first, Scotty, just, on Gundy, his legacy, and I think overall pretty sad day for the Big 12. That he couldn't get it turned around, and it bottomed out. And so along the way, we're going to lose people, right? Like the NIL, and we lose them in basketball. We just lost, and I don't know why Pearl, he may have gotten into politics. He could have kept coaching. It's not like the NIL or anything bothered him. He was great at that stuff. But with some coaches, Dabo being one of those right now, it just wasn't a good fit. And while I guess Gundy had the bounce back in 2023, for the most part, man, I would say, much like with Dave Aranda, NIL era, portal era, really uneven for him. Really only had like one kind of decent bounce back, and the rest of it had been really bad. And so Gundy's career comes to an end. And I know, Scotty, you had said maybe Baylor should immediately hire him. I think he could help a staff in a lot of ways. I think it's hard for a Power 4 team to justify to its fan base going to fire someone or hire someone that had bottomed out this badly. Because this is worse than even what had happened at TCU.
Yeah, but you just said it, Matt. Gundy's issues at Oklahoma State are entirely NIL transfer portal related. It's roster management related. The dude is still one of the top 5 offensive minds in football for my money. I mean, you talk about the quarterbacks, the receivers, the running backs. he is put in the NFL every single season. Ollie Gordon probably about to become the starter for the Miami Dolphins, just the most recent example. Not to mention one of the greatest Dallas Cowboys of all time, Des Bryant. Gundy was consistently putting offensive talent in the NFL, and it's because the dude knows how to scheme up and coach an offense. We had David Pollack this morning on Pete Souza's show, and he said, I think Gundy would really, maybe if he can, Pollack didn't say this, Scotty's saying this. It's an ego thing, right? But what Pollack said is if he can take the role of a coordinator, kind of be like Chip Kelly for the next couple years, just go coach ball, call the offense, coach up a quarterback room. Like, there are not three guys in America better at those things than Mike Gundy.
Wait a second, just so we're clear. Pollack didn't say this. This is what you're saying.
No, Pollack. I made a sidebar about an ego thing. That was Scotty's words. I said,
okay.
I don't know what Gundy's head is at. Does he think he needs to be the head coach? I don't know. But what Pollack said that I think Scotty thinks, if Gundy can put his ego aside and say, yeah, you know what? I can go coach under someone else. There are not three dudes in America I'd rather have coaching my quarterback room or calling my offense. Me.
Yeah.
I think he is still, from a football perspective, one of the very best at that. And frankly, Matt, as we've talked about Dave Aranda at Baylor, I wonder if that's not where he's at. If he's not the head coach for the next 2 or 3 seasons, would it revive him to just take a step out of the roster management, the CEO stuff, the recruiting stuff, just go call a defense?
Yeah.
Right. I think Gundy, man, I
think you're like a lot of Baylor fans. You're trying to speak the Aranda thing into existence. You're like, hey, this would be a good idea for Dave. Dave, I think you'd enjoy this. Why don't you take a little time off from the whole head coaching thing?
Well, listen, my point is Gundy today is valuable. He could walk into any, I don't care how good your program is, any program in college football right now and make your offense better. He can. And so at a minimum, if you're a competitive program right now, you're calling his agent and saying, would he come be a consultant? Kind of like Gary Patterson was for Baylor.
Yeah.
Would he come be an analyst? Will he come spend a week at practice and evaluate our quarterback room and how we can improve? I mean, that he could make a ton of money for the next 3 months just doing that, let alone there are some schools, a Virginia Tech would be insane not to see if he's interested in being the head coach for the rest of the season right now. Just to see.
Yeah, well, he's not. Yeah, that won't happen. Like the in-season immediate. The only person I've ever seen do something like that, I feel like Holgorsen might have jumped in the water pretty quickly, maybe even to try to help TCU out. I don't know what Holgersen's doing. Holgorsen is he's at Nebraska now. I think he's Rule's offensive coordinator now that I think about it. Thank you, Central National Bank. Thank you for your unbelievable loyalty and just the greatness that you bring and all the fun that you do. I hear people brag on, we've been a boring bank since 1865. Central National Bank's the opposite. They, you see their commercials, you see the fun that they have. And that's one of the reasons people seem to flock to them, because they try new things. They're exciting. They are open later than most banks. Their people are on call until like 10 o'clock at night. Honestly, in most places in Central Texas, that just didn't happen. And they're, of course, in Austin and Temple, which we can count all that as. When we get up to Austin, I can start calling it the hill country. I don't really think of that as Central Texas, but some people do. And Central National Bank is just in all those places. But really, with the 2 locations in Waco, they are a huge Waco bank, and then the people that own that bank are just unbelievable. So, very appreciative of that. Now, Scotty, just your point was well taken on the ego thing, because I think much like it was easier for Patterson to get his arms around being a consultant, I think he did have opportunities to be a coordinator. It's very hard for successful, longtime head coaches. It happens sometimes in the NFL, I guess. Some people try to jump right back in. But Eberflus is a bad example because he was horrible as a head coach in Chicago, so it wasn't really hard for him to jump back in and try to rehab his image. Quinn was okay with the Falcons, rehabs his image, rehabs everything, has a good run with the Cowboys. He becomes a head coach again. I guess actually when I think about Gundy, he's about Quinn's age, but I think the ego probably is such that he would be more open to being a some kind of consultant next season rather than being a head coach or excuse me, a coordinator. Now, from a head coaching standpoint, when you're 58 and you still feel juiced up and you lift a lot of weights and you look like Gundy does, yeah, I think he would listen. I think he would listen to one of these guys, and I think it would take somebody who really understands what you were just saying, Scotty, like that. The reason he bottomed out were all these other reasons. And if you gave him this and gave him that, I just think you'd have to come to the understanding is he wired? Like, I don't think Dabo's wired. I think Dabo's an unbelievable football coach. And what he's done at Clemson is unreal. Okay. And you talk about a guy who deserves a statue, but I don't think he can truly get his arms around NIL transfer. And I'm not convinced as a head coach, Gundy can do it either. Now, if Gundy came to Baylor as some kind of coordinator or a consultant or something like that, absolutely. It'd be fine. You wouldn't worry about, he doesn't really get NIL. You wouldn't. I am with you on that, Scotty. I think he's got the mind, the juice, there's a lot that he could bring to a staff. In fact, to a young coach, Spavital's still pretty young. Don't forget that Spavital's still I don't even think he's turned 40 yet. Spavital might either late 40s or late 30s or just turned 40. Could absolutely use somebody like Gundy. You don't think that helped Sark having Patterson that 1 year? Wherever Patterson went after that. I mean, the only reason Patterson didn't work out at Baylor is just because I think both of them realized while it was somewhat helpful, it was also somewhat redundant to have two huge defensive minds in the same room. And what I mean by that is I think Gary has such a huge personality. Obviously, Dave Aranda doesn't, that it became confusing for the players. I think some of those defensive players probably started being drawn to what Gary was saying. And I'm not certain Gary is able to say, well, okay, Aranda has these different ideas. I'm going to try to teach and help these coaches with Aranda's ideas. No, Gary has his own ideas. And so for whatever reason, those two things weren't sort of melding together, and they had to move him on out, or he moved himself out. However that happened. Now we are usually at 1:30. Let me look at my trusty clock here. All right, usually at about 1:30. That's when we're doing Campus Confidential today, because we had the opportunity to have a big name. This guy is royalty in Oklahoma. It is the great Barry Tramel, and Barry is longtime columnist, TV. He does it all, but mainly known for his writing and his columns and for breaking some pretty huge news over the years. And so he's not only all over this Gundy thing, but Scotty, the other big news from yesterday coming out of Oklahoma. I mean, the state of Oklahoma basically had the whole country, even though, Scotty, we had the SEC schedules coming out yesterday evening. We already knew the three that they were protecting in their new 9-game conference schedule, but we got the rest of the schedules through 2029, who all the teams were playing. That came out at about 6 or 7 last night. And so in that part of the country, that's huge news. But the bigger news yesterday, Scotty, was the news that John Mateer, the Oklahoma quarterback who was way up there, in fact, leading the Heisman race, had a broken bone in his hand and had to he's going to have surgery. And he's talking to the folks, the hand specialist. There's a big time hand surgeon that I think is going to do the surgery, maybe out in California. But Scotty, they're not giving a timetable. I have a really hard time thinking you can have a hand surgery on your throwing hand and come rolling back in here in 4 or 5 weeks or whatever. To me, again, this is not OU hasn't said this. This is Dr. Mosley. To me, his season's over. And what a horrible shame that is. I mean, he had come in there. He had given that fan base a lot more hope, a lot more excitement. He had fueled the whole Venables thing. They're 4-0. Do they cheat and do they run plays that are should not be allowed by NCAA rules? Yes. All right. Now the officials could have caught that, right? But they did have to cheat to score one of those touchdowns against Auburn by doing the old hidden receiver trick. You can't hide a guy over by the sideline. This is like old 1950s stuff that they did. It's illegal. They did it. They got away with it. It was not enforced, and we'll see what the SEC does. In fact, Scotty, let's both be looking at that to see if the SEC suspends those those officials or anything like that, because there have been suspensions. One SEC official got suspended this year. Big 12 sat down a crew for a mistake it made, like on a free kick, on just a kickoff that they screwed up. So we'll watch and see if the SEC punishes everybody. Everybody loves punishment. What are they going to do? Are they going to suspend them forever? Are they done? What are they going to do? That's a big one, Scotty, is this Mateer, because did you see Scotty Swingler, who has vaulted to the top of the Heisman race? Did you see a certain quarterback who you and I are going to have to dig in? We're going to have to watch a little film of him, because let's not act. We can kind of act like we knew about him last year. He transfers in. Are you aware?
I bet. Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
Vegas now favors in the Heisman race.
I have not looked. My suspicion would be Carson Beck.
You would be wrong. The Mendoza line. Fernando Mendoza.
Let's go!
From Indiana.
Hoosiers!
Is now your odds-on Heisman favorite in light of what's happened to John Mateer.
Yes!
And Fernando Mendoza is now plus 650, I believe. Carson Beck is next. Okay, so you're not far off. But Fernando, the man, I guess if you light up Brett Bielema. Now, somebody last week was talking about the fraudulence. Well, really of both those programs, but we may have to back off of Indiana a little bit.
Listen, Mosley, I've been on the Indiana train since last season. I said this summer they will make the playoff again, and I could pull the clip. If I knew this was going to come up today.
Go find it. Yes.
I specifically told Pete in August, this quarterback they've got is good. So I did not know he would be the Heisman favorite in September. That is a surprise to me, but I'm not surprised they're successful. I did pick them to make the playoff again. Baylor should call Coach Kurt Cignetti and have a blank check. A blank check.
Stop trying to hire. It's not. There is no opening. There
is a blank check. There's an opening in my mind.
Your mind right now, it needs to be monitored very closely. Okay, and I am the man to do that. I'm the man. I am the man to kind of get you through these times when every head coach looks attractive to you. I feel like even Bielema, after getting that 63-10 whooping from Kirk Cignetti. Kirk Cignetti is good. He's provided rare hope to the state of Indiana in terms of, or to the school. Indiana's had hope for a long time with Notre Dame being in that state. But the Indiana Hoosiers have always been a basketball school. Well, now they've been horrible at basketball for some time now. Who did they hire? Did Indiana go hire the West Virginia coach or something? Is that right? Surely not. Did they? Who did Indiana hire as their basketball coach? What a joke. I mean, the guy's a nice guy, but did they literally go hire? Who hired DeVries? Surely it wasn't Indiana. Who did they hire, Scotty? Was it Darian? Who hired Darian DeVries? Somebody hired the West Virginia basketball coach after one season. in the Big 12, he went rolling somewhere else. I do not understand why they can't get this right. It just seems crazy to me. All right. I'll tell you what we're going to do, Scotty. Let's get ready. Let's get ready for the man. He is the famous columnist out of Oklahoma. Barry Tramel will be joining us online. All right. We're gonna see him, and you'll get to see the great hair that Barry Tramel has. He'll show it off to us. But Scotty, break in if I forget to ask him about, because he's got lots of thoughts on Mateer as well. But I could see myself getting so into Gundy that I do want you at any point in time, Scotty, to jump in on this, because we do need to get his takes on John Mateer likely out for the season. Barry Tramel, the longtime columnist from Oklahoma, joins us next.
When Central National Bank decided to partner with Baylor women's basketball, we didn't know exactly what that partnership would look like.
What brings you into the bank today?
For the last couple of months, I've been noticing a charge on my account, and I would like to block it.
I see. So you have a charge,
Yes?
and you'd like to block it?
Yes.
I think you should take the charge.
What?
Yeah, I definitely think you should take the charge.
I don't think you understand.
Sometimes you just have to take one for the team.
Is there a manager available?
We love that Coach Collin is all about the team. Once we get the vocabulary down, the sky's the limit.
Central National Bank, proud partner of Baylor Athletics and Baylor women's basketball.
I have Mac Rhodes, director of Baylor Athletics, on the phone. Mac, can you tell Peggy why she should take the charge?
Of course she should take the charge. Wait, are you at the bank again? And who is Peggy?
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code Mosley to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code MOSLEY. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369.
Oh, there it is. The Matt Mosley Show. And Barry Tramel getting ready to join us. Oh, and there in all his spectacular. Barry, I mean, could you have had more going on in the state of Oklahoma, where you have covered sports for many, many years? If it's not enough to have Mike Gundy fired, although you probably saw that one coming. Then this John Mateer news. How are you holding up today? I'm sure you had a lot to write yesterday.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Matt, in 1994, in February of 94, the Oklahoma House of Representatives voted 52-47 on February 9th, 52-47 to not impeach the governor. It was a huge scandal, a huge political day. Just, what is he going to make it? Is he not? He survived by 52-47. That happened in the afternoon at the state capitol. A few hours later, about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, Bud Wilkinson died. And so a 1-2 punch of massive Oklahoma news. And I thought of that day yesterday. We get to, Mike Gundy in the morning. It's trickling out. Mike Gundy's going to get fired. He gets fired. We're literally sitting in the press conference waiting for athletic director Chad Weiberg to show up. And we get the email from OU. John Mateer is going to go undergo surgery for his thumb. We'll let you know how long he's going to be out. And it's like, wow, can anything, what else could happen on this day? So, yeah, it was an historic day because of Gundy, and then an earth-shattering day for the Sooners, who everything's been going so great for them. And then all of a sudden their quarterback's gone, probably for Texas. So, Yeah, it's a big day. But historically, Mike Gundy, 21 years on the job, 19 AOC, freshman in 86, so 14, 40, basically 40 years a Cowboy, and now it ends. So, well, quite the day in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and you knew it was going the wrong direction with Oklahoma State, and you've been covering enough of these things, and you don't go far enough back to that last Tulsa win in Stillwater, obviously, but that goes when you get back into the 1950s.
Yeah,
that was a dark day and a fun day for Tulsa, obviously, and boy, you're with the Tulsa World now, so it was fun for the folks around there, but it was misery for Oklahoma State. Man, I do you think there was any thought to, like, is there any way we could let him coach this season out? You know, Patterson had that opportunity. They tried to do that with him. And I think Gary at TCU in 2021 said, to heck with you. No, go ahead and fire me. You know, I'm not doing a ceremonial season. I guess this thing, Barry, had gotten so bad that there was no way to kind of work one of those things out, right? Because I think people would say, why'd you send him out there Monday? Or could you have done it in a better way? Is there anything Oklahoma State in your mind could have done to sort of mitigate what was already a pretty rough situation?
Well, I think it clearly would have been better if they could have made the announcement Monday morning. I mean, they're having a press conference ostensibly to talk about Baylor was pretty bad form, considering. Heck, if you knew there was any kind of chance to fire him before that, they should have taken it. And frankly, the Regents just didn't get on the ball, is what it was. Didn't want their Sunday disturbed or couldn't get organized, whatever it was. That would have been much better to meet on Sunday, announce it Monday morning. Don't go through the charade of a press conference for game week. They did not talk about extending, about Gundy stepping down into the season. Most people don't do that anymore. Most schools don't want the coach to do it. Most coaches don't want to do it. You referenced Patterson. Clearly, that's the ethical thing to do, though. I mean, to me, it's low rent. Anytime you fire a coach in the middle of a seaon that's without, some sort of personal scandal. Because think about it, Matt. What do coaches talk about? What do players profess? What does everybody talk about? Team, family. We're in this together. And then, 3 games into a season, we're not really a family. This is a team. Yeah, you go away. And I just think that's, to me, it's a terrible message. If you want to make a change at the end of the season. You want to announce it now, but don't disrupt the sanctity of a team. And yet we do it all the time. So the change in college football with the portal being so massive and so quick and so, speed dating, you need a coach on the job as quick as you can. There's not any doubt about that. This is the best way to do that. Give Chad Weiberg 2 public months to chase a coach. We know that some backroom deals are made and all kinds of tampering and all kinds of talks with coaches who have jobs go on. But it's, it'd be best if you could wait, but most people don't.
Barry, where do you think, because he had that bounce back in 2023, so it's hard to say, well, he just was bad at NIL or portal, but obviously this thing got way away from them. I would have loved to have seen like Hoss Haney's year play out because he offered hope. He's got a lot of speed. He would have been a fun quarterback for the fan base to kind of watch, hopefully grow up. And while I'm not saying they would have won, I mean, I think they probably would have beat Tulsa, but that was going to be a different looking team with him. Now, would they have still gotten crushed at Oregon? Yeah, probably so. But like when people ask you, or I'm asking you, where did this thing go wrong? Does it go all the way back to NIL and portal with Mike, or what was the biggest? Where did it really go the most wrong in your mind? How it got to such a low point here before they fired him?
Well, it's in some ways it's a mystery. As far as Haas Haney, yeah, he was, he engineered two series touchdowns to open the year against Tennessee Martin. A third series, he gets hurt, he didn't come back. It is what it is. However, the insiders will tell you, hey, Haas Haney was an interesting player, but the best he's looked since he got to Stillwater was never in practice. It was those two series against Tennessee Martin. So who knows what they would have had with Haas Haney. And teams, with limited quarterback options certainly don't want to lose one. But this goes so much deeper and further. Mike Gundy's he's such an enigma. He always came back, right? I mean, he always rebounded, get himself in trouble. Here they come. He dang near got fired in the summer of 2020 when the player revolt over some of his political stances. Players said, hey, we don't want to, this guy doesn't listen to us. He doesn't know us. Gundy escaped trouble then. I mean, he got out of jail on that one and then produced one of the best teams in school history, the team that, played Baylor in that great Big 12 title game. He finishes, if give OSU 6 inches on that last play, they might be in the college football playoff in 2021. Finished 7th anyway, beat Notre Dame in a great Fiesta Bowl. So things seemed fabulous. And yet, and then to open the 22 season, OSU is 6-1, has just beaten Texas. It's ranked like 9th in the country. And then the bottom falls out of the season. 23, the season opens. They're terrible. They lose to South Alabama. Gundy's changing quarterbacks literally every quarter. He's platooning quarterbacks every quarter. And yet they somehow scratch their way to Arlington and go back to the Big 12 title game. And then they beat Arkansas last September. They're ranked 13th in the country, 3-0. You think, hey, they're right where they need to be. And it was literally their last hurrah. They've lost 11 of 12. They've lost 11 of 12 games since then. Only victory over a 1AA opponent. So you got it's just a maddening thing. I think it's just a lack of quality control. if part of it's the portal, part of it is the drastic change to how OSU's won football games all these years, developing players, keeping guys for 5 and 6 years. I don't necessarily think it's NIL. The most interesting thing that was said at Chad Weiberg's press conference yesterday was, this is not an inexpensive roster we have this year, which means we spent a lot of money on this team. Now, they didn't spend like Oregon. They didn't spend like Ohio State, whoever.
Yeah.
Texas Tech, no. But they're spending in the neighborhood of TCU and Baylor and Kansas State and Iowa State and Arizona State. That's not the issue. They just spent it poorly on players who are not that good. And here's the deal, Matt. I mean, I've asked several people this question that have watched OSU play this year. I've asked them 2 questions. Who's your best player? And then I've asked them, who are your good players? And the answers are slow to come. It's just a desolate roster. There's nobody out there that says, hey, these guys can line up and play with Baylor. These guys can line up and play with Arizona State. These guys can line up and play with TCU. And you've seen OSU enough over the years. That's not the case. They've never had an abundance of superstars, but they've always had ball players.
Yeah.
They're out of ball players. That's
Wow.
how you get beat 69-3. That's how you get beat by Tulsa. If you watched OSU Tulsa and you didn't know the uniforms and you didn't know the history and you didn't know the names, you would think one of 2 things. These are 2 pretty even football teams, or that team named Tulsa, I don't know anything about them, but they're actually better than that team named Oklahoma State.
Wow. I shudder to think. Barry, which of these candidates that are starting to be mentioned, G.J. Kinney, Jeff Traylor almost has that, he was an incredible high school coach. G.J., the hot, young, offensive coach. Eric Morris, to a lesser extent, maybe at UNT. My thought yesterday was like the DNA of Oklahoma State and the quarterbacks and the receivers, like it'd be a hard sell there to bring in a defensive guy. Like it almost to me has to be an offensive guy. Any of these names you're hearing, or maybe there's one you've come up with that is maybe hasn't been mentioned. Is there any of these names sort of resonate with you, and what type of coach you think is the best fit?
Well, I actually think go get the best coach you can find. For me, on the mid-major level, that's John Summerall at Tulane. I don't think OSU can get him. I think he's waiting on an SEC job. I think if he doesn't have a really good job when Mark Stoops is gone at Kentucky, whenever that is, he'll be the next Kentucky coach. I think he can do better than that. I doubt OSU can get John Summerall. I do think there's a thirst for an offensive coach. Eric Morris at UNT, G.J. Kinney at Texas State, somebody like that. I like Jeff Traylor. I tend to think he might be the next coach at Arkansas, but I could be wrong. So I do think Oklahoma State would like to find a young, offensive savvy coach. But I got to tell you, Matt, the most important thing, I don't know that you can just go by strategy, go by, what sort of niche you need. You need somebody that knows how to maneuver in the NIL/portal era. That's what you need. You need, this guy's impossible to find. What he's doing is a miracle. He belongs in the Old Testament, but you need a Kurt Signetti. Somebody says, hey, I know what I'm doing. You hire me, you're going to win football games. And then you hire the guy and he wins football games. That's what Oklahoma State needs. They need a roster transformation in the worst of ways. I don't know who the next Kurt Signetti is, but that's what Oklahoma State needs to try to find.
Is the guy at OU whose name came up, Arbuckle, who's just come in from Washington State, obviously has a great reputation with working with these young quarterbacks. Do you think he's too green? Do you think there's no way, OU would try to do everything in the world? Like what about that name?
Well, he's fascinating. And in the old days, he would be very enticing. But Ben Arbuckle has spent 1 year until this year at a Power 4 schools, Power 5 in 2023 for Washington State. He literally turned 30 years old last week. What does he know about building a football program in this day and age? It's not a rhetorical question. It's a legitimate question. Maybe he's got the blueprint, but do you really think he does? I mean, to me, that would be a huge risk. People say, could you get Ben Arbuckle? I mean, why would you want to risk it on a guy that's literally 5 years ago, he's the offensive coordinator at Seminole High School out in the Texas Panhandle. We got a Seminole High School here in Oklahoma. It's been coached by the same guy, Mike Snyder, since 1978. He's like like 47 years on the job. I made the joke the other day. I said, 5 years ago, Ben Arbuckle was coaching on the staff at Seminole High School, and he wasn't even working for Mike Snyder. So to me, that's a big risk. I want a guy, if I'm running a football program, I want a guy that's shown he knows how to navigate the current landscape of college football. And I know it's new. I know nothing's proven. Who knows if a guy can do it twice. But that if I'm going to hire a head coach or an assistant coach, I want somebody that can sit down with me and say, here's how we're going to win.
Yeah.
And
have a plan.
Mm-hmm. I don't claim to know what the plan is, but have a plan. So that's what you need to do. I think OSU, the one thing OSU is probably out of is the pool of places they could go, whether you want NFL, whether you want a head coach, whether you want an assistant, whatever kind of coach you want. I think there's been a pool that's been eliminated, and that's a fellow power conference head coach. There's probably not many of those guys that would come to Oklahoma State now. 4 years ago in the old days when Gundy was riding high, and maybe then you could go get a coach from Louisville or North Carolina State or TCU or Stanford, wherever.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can do that anymore because the Cowboys have fallen pretty far so fast that I think that bucket of coaches has probably closed.
You know, you have had a lot of relationships with head coaches over the years, and you don't hold back. So it's not like you're not wired to get like chummy with these guys, although a lot, most of them seem to respect you. Stoops, Lincoln, all these guys that you've had to deal with at OU. What was Gundy? Was he fun to deal with? Was he behind? Because we only see at public, he infamously had that encounter with one of your longtime colleagues back in the day. In fact, it was the anniversary of the "I'm a man, I'm 40" speech the other day. What has it been? A pretty even back and forth. What was it like covering him over the years compared to some of the other coaches you've covered?
Well, it was different because of this. I literally covered Mike when he was a high school quarterback in Midwest City, Oklahoma. And I can remember he was different because he doesn't come across as the most mature head coach. But as a high school quarterback, he's one of the more mature high school quarterbacks I've ever talked to. And I remember him on the phone in the recruiting world of January '85, his senior year. I was on the phone with him, and he thanked me for what I'd written about his recruiting process, because it was sort of a mess between OU and OSU, and people didn't always get it right. And he said, "Hey, I read what you wrote. I thank you because you got it right." So I go back with Mike. Now it's been 40 years, right? That's 40 years last January. So we've had a long time relationship. We're not chummy. We're not friends. I've never had dinner with the guy. I've trying to remember if I've even had any social interaction with him outside of literally football. Not much. But two things about him. He was a blast to cover because he was so dang interesting. Every once in a while, he'd decide to be boring, and would be. But most of the time, his press conferences were must-see TV, must-go press conference. He would do crazy things. They beat Boise State in a rousing game in 21 up in Boise. And on the field, he grabbed me after the game, and his players are celebrating. He said, "Let me tell you what you ought to write about." And he told me about the story about the walk-on kid who ran the receiver. The receiver who had a big catch at the end and that kind of thing. So he would, he had a mind that was always racing, and he was often helpful. Now, he was not real consistent with his media policies. So, people like us, Matt, nothing could drive us crazier than that. 1 week it's feathers, 1 week it's chicken. So I need, I like a little consistency. But for the most part, he was very interesting to cover. He was great for Oklahoma State forever, going back 40 years. And he will be missed. Monday, he gave his final press conference. I thought he was great. And literally, as he walked out the door, I turned to my colleagues. I said, "We're going to miss that when he's gone." I knew it'd be pretty soon. I knew he wasn't going to be long. I didn't know that would be the last press conference we'd face. But I enjoyed covering Mike Gundy. Not as much as I enjoyed covering Howard Schnellenberger. He wasn't quite as interesting as Howard Schnellenberger, but he was up there.
Oh, yeah. I left him out. I left John Blake out. You got I'm sure you had some moments with Coach Switzer, and you probably still do run into him, and then Gary Gibbs. So I left a few out over the years, but with, before Mike, there was only Les Miles and Pat. I thought about Pat today. I used to do a little TV with him, and
that's right.
I think I'll sometimes I'll be like, I wonder what that coach is up to. And then yesterday I see something. It's like Pat has a radio show. I'm like, okay, Pat.
He's been doing radio in Oklahoma for 20 years now, since he left the NFL. Yeah,
Pat Jones still doing it. Okay, what is the level of just like sadness, misery over this Mateer thing? Because Venables riding high, They had to, they of course had to use the secret receiver play, the hidden receiver play, but still they get a win. Mateer's up there at leading the Heisman rankings, and then this huge setback. Obviously, they're probably much better on defense this year than they were, so maybe they can. But as I recall, Barry, when Hawkins got thrown in there against UT, that was not a good situation. I guess it was great and that he stayed there and he's hung in there. Can you offer our Sooners audience any sort of hope? Like, is there any thought that Michael Hawkins may have, risen to a point where he could kind of try to keep this thing, hold the fort here a little bit? But I mean, that was a rough news for Sooner Nation.
Yeah. Now it came at the best possible time, really. Maybe you get the surgery Sunday instead of Wednesday, but the reports are that he's, could be out as a month or so and potentially more, I suppose. My sources said 3 weeks. Neither one of those gets you to Texas. 2.5 weeks is the surgery to Red Rivers, 2.5 weeks. So he's not likely to play against Texas. I don't think it's automatic doom for the Sooners. I do think it makes the hill very hard to climb because John Mateer was so impactful on this Oklahoma team. Hawkins, I think, is a good quarterback. I think he's got the potential. If Mateer's gone next year, I think he's got the potential that the Sooners would ride with him. I mean, he was a true freshman last year. When you throw a true freshman into the mix about anywhere, it often doesn't go good. He didn't get to step into the stream of Illinois State and Temple. His first 4 games were against Tennessee, Auburn, Texas, South Carolina. Those were 3 ferocious defenses last year. Plus Auburn was pretty good. I mean, he got thrown into the fire and said, "Find your way out." He showed a few signs. He also collapsed South Carolina, 9 plays, 3 turnovers, 2 defensive touchdowns, 21-0 in the first 6 minutes. So that was utter disaster. He came back, played the bowl game against Navy, and played pretty well. So I think he's got a bright future. If it's not at Oklahoma, I think it's somewhere else. I think he's going to be a really good college quarterback. I really do. Whether he can do that this year in an emergency fill-in for Mateer, I don't know. The good news is we've seen people, good news from OU side, we've seen people sort of emerge at OU Texas and shine when thrust in. Texas has a long history of that. Jared Hurd outdueled Baker Mayfield in 2015. Hurd was so good that he eventually was moved to wide receiver. But on that Saturday, he beat Baker Mayfield. James Brown, back in 94, Shane Morantz gets a concussion at Colorado. The next week, James Brown, a true freshman, comes on, beats Oklahoma, has the job the next 3.5 years. Case McCoy, who, if nobody remembers, is not exactly Eli Manning, if you know what I mean. He beat the Sooners in 2013, I think it was. So Jason White filling in 2001. Nate Hibble gets hurt. Jason White comes on, leads OU to victory in that game. And it happens from time to time. It's not likely to happen, but it can happen, especially in what we're going to see, which I think OU Texas is going to be a very tight defensive-minded game. Even with Mateer, Arch Manning playing well and Mateer healthy, I don't think it's going to be 35-31. I think first one to 20 wins. And so if it's the first one to 20, if you can make that the first one to 16, maybe you got a chance. So, and Oklahoma's defense is very good. Texas' defense is outstanding also. So I think the fact that it's going to be a low-scoring game anyway gives the Sooners hope that Michael Hawkins may have matured enough that he can produce enough offense that maybe you got a chance at the end.
All right. Well, if you need more chaos in your life than you've had in the last 24 hours, just come to AT&T Stadium. You know the way. Seen you there many times over the years, and watch Micah Parsons return. And you talk about embarrassing. That has the chance to be a very embarrassing situation for Jerry Jones, because as you saw Sunday, the defense continues to be a work in progress. Let's put it nicely. It looks awful. No pass rush. And you have a guy in Micah Parsons against a offensive line that's beat up. Barry, I could see him having, 3 or 4 sacks, and this could be a rout. And this has the potential of a volatile situation there at AT&T Stadium. So I'd love to see you in the press box Sunday night is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I need to get down there. Has Jerry ever missed a Cowboy game since he bought the team? I don't think he's ever missed a game.
This would be a good place to start.
This would be a very good place to start a new tradition. Do not go to the game, and if you do, don't hold a press conference. But it's not good. I don't claim to know. Yeah, I don't have any advice for the Cowboys. They got a mess on their hands. I will say this. Forget Micah Parsons. Forget Green Bay. Forget all that stuff. Just tell you guys, we're playing a team that last week lost to the Cleveland Browns. Now go out and win this football game. Maybe that's the best strategy.
I think Jerry would take any advice he can get. Although the good news is he's still doing. A-Rod came into town to do a podcast with Jerry. So Jerry's not shying away from any media. He never does. All right. That's the one thing you could never accuse him of, is ducking the media. In fact, he's probably a little too willing. Barry, thank you, man. On such a busy time. I thought about you immediately yesterday. And then I was trying to, you were on the way and you were en route to Stillwater. And then, of course, you got hit with that other news. So I really appreciate it. Loved having you on.
Glad to do it, Matt. Anytime.
Okay. There he goes. Barry Tramel. You saw the graphic. He is the legendary sports writer there in Oklahoma for the Oklahoman for many years. And he's really good at what he does. And he's kind of he's the old school sports writer who does not, even though he's beloved there and covers the Sooners and the Pokes, he does not ever kiss up or anything, chummy. You heard him. He covered Mike Gundy from the time he was in high school. And Mike Gundy had huge respect for Barry Tramel, but never socialized, never did any of that, because there's an old school train of thought that compromises you when you spend that much time, or you text or chummy or have this friendship with the head coach. And could he have had that relationship? I'm sure he could have. I'm sure Mike Gundy would have been open to having an occasional beer with Barry Tramel, but that is not the way Barry is wired, and I've always respected that. And fun to have him on the Mosley Show. Scotty Swingler back with us today, and that is where we find him as we get ready to do some Campus Confidential. We have major college football, even since Scotty's last been with us, we had huge college basketball news, seismic change on the SEC front. And then even Scott Drew out there talking about the Bears. How do the Bears look heading into this season? All of that coming up next in Campus Confidential.
Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office. Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hanomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today. Unlock a world of convenience with Mully Box, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. Each box is tailored to your taste. Experience the joy of surprises. Subscribe today at mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com. Unlock your full potential with On It, your go-to for premium supplements, fitness gear, and wellness essentials. Whether you're training hard, recovering faster, or just looking to feel your best, On It has the tools you need to perform at your peak. Visit Onnit, that's ONNIT.com, and elevate your mind, body, and spirit today. At Rolls Rolo, we don't just sell wallpaper, we create cohesive, cozy spaces. Our deep understanding of design means every pattern, color, and texture is carefully chosen to complement your home. Plus, we use advanced technology and water-based inks for vibrant, eco-friendly prints, ensuring a healthier environment. Visit rollsrolla.com to transform your space today. That's ROLLSROLLA.com today.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness, brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious. Find your blend at hempdelicious.com.
At Tusane's, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit Tusains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.
Ready to bring your vision to life? At Small Rig, every idea, design, and product is inspired by you, the creator. With our industry-first under co-design mode and the Dream Rig free customization project, we unite with global creators to turn big dreams into reality. Whether it's a cage rig or mount, Small Rig's versatile gear is built to elevate your craft. Small Rig, where your creativity meets our innovation. Go to smallrig.com.
Calling all Marvel fans, get Marvel Unlimited and unlock over 30,000 comics featuring your favorite heroes and iconic stories, all available to read anytime, anywhere. Whether you're into classic tales or the latest adventures, there's something for everyone. Don't miss out. Head to marvel.com/unlimited today and start your Marvel journey now. At Angel Bliss, we believe every parent's journey is a beautiful adventure. Our mission is to make it joyful and stress-free with thoughtful, safe, and innovative products. Born from a love for family, we promise peace of mind for parents and comfort for babies. From playtime to bedtime, every Angel Bliss product is designed with care, reliability, and a style to nurture the special bond between parent and child. Angel Bliss, creating happy memories, one baby at a time. Visit us at angelbliss.us. Angel Bliss.
It is Matt Mosley, the Mosley Show, and what a day it's been. We've had a lot of Mike Gundy to react to. Oklahoma with its big injury to John Mateer. That has changed the Heisman race. We had Barry Tramel on, legendary columnist from Oklahoma, and that was good. And I think you saw, Scotty, Barry, that hair. He's kind of let that hair, a lot of folks kind of let the hair go during COVID, and they've just kind of stayed with that style. Let me tell you, Barry's kind of had that style of longish hair, graying hair for about 25, 30 years now. And he's just kind of stuck with it. And it's got a very professorial look to it. And he had a lot of interesting things to say when, and I like that moment. I texted you about it, Scotty, where he just basically said they're out of ball players, talking about OSU. People think Baylor's just going to walk all over them because of the lack of talent and the nobody at quarterback. And that may be the case. I surely hope that is the case, but I still worry. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that the Bears just show up and wipe the place up with they need to do that. And I tried to bounce that against another guy that's a longtime personnel guy in the NFL who coached and scouted in the NFL. And I said, I don't know. I mean, I said, I'm not so sure that Baylor couldn't run into some trouble up there. And their response to me was just like, if it's anywhere close, they need to clean house up there at Baylor, was the attitude. Now, I don't know if that's fair, because again, I think we usually have the mentality of any road win's a good road win. And I still kind of have that mentality. But boy, there is an utter lack of respect for OSU right now. And I just think it's because OSU just bottoming out and just being so awful, and then having all sorts of talent issues and that kind of thing. Now, Scotty Swingler, a man who spends his mornings with Pete Souza talking to former college football greats like David Pollock, and then by the afternoon, he jumps on the Mosley show, and we do some different things. I mean, I'm sure there's some overlap, but I do think probably two very different shows. And then sometimes there's so much overlap that Pete and I will even jump on each other's shows. In fact, Pete owes me a show soon, and
he does.
Excited to do that, and excited to hopefully he'll bring all his subscribers over. All right, Scotty, it is time for something we call Campus Confidential, and it, it's a time of day where it's the biggest stories in college athletics. And Scotty, I'll just throw one right on you that I just saw a breaking news, and I couldn't get over there quite quick enough, but it appears to be involving the College Football Playoff Committee, and how right now it seems like they're willing to just kind of, everybody seems to say, let's just leave this thing at 12 is the way they see this thing moving forward. But I did want to alert you to that, Scotty. There seemed to be a little CFP news that was breaking that we can account for.
Oh, man.
Anytime you feel like it, Scotty, but it popped onto my little ESPN, the little alerts I get.
You mentioned it now. Let's talk about it now. Why not? I just pulled it up as you were talking 20 minutes ago. The future format of the college football playoff remains undecided after the management committee met briefly. I love that it says met briefly on Wednesday, and then the next sentence is the group met for over 4 hours, but spent about 20 minutes talking about the format for 2026 and beyond. They have to let ESPN know by December 1st if they want to expand the field.
By when? December 1st?
December 1st, but Executive Director Rich Clark says staying at 12 isn't facing much resistance, despite the fact the Big Ten has apparently presented a model for 28 teams. Dear God, let's just put the whole Big Ten and the whole SEC in a playoff together and see what happens, I guess. But yeah, as you said, it looks like we may hold serve at 12 teams next season. And by the way, I think that's good news, Matt. I think I've said this on the show before. I think 12 teams was a lot of fun last season. Most of the games, especially beyond the first round had a couple duds, but even some of those first round games were closer than the scores appeared. I liked the on-campus environment for the round one games. I thought from the second round on, you had mostly very competitive, very fun football being played. And, they've adjusted the format this year to make it straight seeding instead of, the top 4 conference champs getting the top 4 seeds. I think that will add some compelling narrative this season. I like it.
It's not like, Scotty, we had like great teams being held out of that thing. I mean, in the past,
Alabama fans would disagree with you, but I don't know that Jalen Milroe's Alabama could have beaten Kurt Cignetti's Indiana. I'll just tell you for my money.
Who knows? Not this year. Not this year's Indiana team. I mean, they look strong. That is interesting that we now, it's like in that conversation we had with Barry Tramel, it's like, could you find the next Cignetti? I find it very funny because Indiana, God love them, they probably didn't know what they were getting exactly. And Cignetti had won like at a lower level, right? I mean, James Madison hadn't even been a FBS. Is that where he came from?
Yeah.
They hadn't even been FBS that long. I mean, it's crazy.
He made James Madison a winning program. Yeah, so that tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, the Dukes. The James Madison Dukes. So
speaking of which, I think that's exactly why for Oklahoma State and potentially for Baylor, if there's a head coach opening, Kenny and Traylor are big names to watch because the Texas State Bobcats had not even been to a bowl game, and Kenny has led them to 2 straight 8-win seasons. They're 3-1 right now going into conference play. Could win 8 or 9 games again this year. At Texas State, that's a big deal. Jeff Traylor has a remarkable winning record at UTSA, which was nothing before he got there. So, with Coach Sig, the same thing. You prove you can do it at a school that isn't traditionally doing it. Generally, you can take that approach to a bigger school and have some success.
Yeah. I this thought crossed my mind if, given the way Spavital helped Sawyer and Sawyer helped Spavital, and they had a great run at the end of last season, like if Baylor got on a run, we'd all love to see it happen again. Does Spavital at some point, could he get another job as a head coach? Now, the problem, of course, is he had a shot at Texas State. Now, this was right as like COVID and the portal and all that stuff was starting, and it was like huge chaos in college football. Okay, I'm trying to give Spavital that excuse, but he did not do well at Texas State.
Well,
and he got a guy in G.J. Kinney who's done extremely well there.
Exactly right. Yeah, anybody that's thinking of hiring Spav as a head coach, I get it, but I would ask, why aren't you hiring Kinney, who's also an offensive genius, is putting up some of the best numbers. By the way, when he was at Incarnate Word, before he went to Texas State, he took Incarnate Word to being one of the best FCS teams in the country, took them to their first playoff appearance, and they averaged more points and yards than any other Division I team in the country at Incarnate Word. By the way, the quarterback for that team, Cam Ward, G.J. Kinney, huge part of developing him into the first overall pick eventually out of Miami. So,
I must protest. I thought Ben Arbuckle developed every quarterback in the country right now. I think Sawyer watched what they were doing at Washington State, and it really impacted Sawyer. So I cannot give any credit to G.J. Kinney.
Well, G.J., but to your point, I need to start pulling receipts. I don't know that we're going to have all these conversations until they happen. I texted some friends 2 weeks ago, Matt, and I said, new dream. If Jake Spavital gets hired as a head coach, and this is presuming we keep Dave Aranda, Mike Gundy, Baylor OC. I said that 2 weeks ago. I still think that would be great, but I need to let the Gundy thing rest, I think, for a little bit.
Yeah. Gundy has coached at Baylor. And
yes.
Gundy
passing game coordinator at Baylor in 1996.
Gundy would be a perfect consultant. And depending on what he's kind of dealing with and going through right now, to your point from earlier, yeah, if he wanted to come help out and hang out, I'd get him to Waco immediately, especially with the fact that they're about to play Oklahoma State. That would be so bad. He wouldn't do that because he does love his alma mater, and so he's not. That would be really bad. Now, I'll tell you who likes sticking it, and it was not his alma mater, but it is the school he loves. Who loves sticking it to his school more than anybody is Patterson, because Patterson went to Texas and Baylor, and then he went to speak at SMU recently. Like, he loves poking his old school, which leads me, I think this is an appropriate time to do this. It leads me to tell you, I did hear from Patterson earlier today. I just said, what was it like on the field Saturday? He went in the TCU Hall of Fame, and this was the first time he'd been back inside the stadium on the field since he was the head coach for 22 seasons. Okay. And he used. And so I said, was everyone pretty excited? He said it was way cool. That's it. I guess he did hang around Dave Aranda. He said standing ovation, and the applause took me back a little bit. Pretty cool. Good for Gary, and I wanted to share that with you. Gary and I were just texting this morning, and that's really cool. In fact, Gary does a weekly thing now. Locked On has a TV show, and sure enough, Scotty, hosted by one Drake Toll, and Drake does a pretty good job with it, and he doesn't talk about the Savannah Bananas too much or whatever the group he is with. But it's a funny little show because they have Jesse Holley, former Cowboys player. Jesse does a fine job. And Patterson, who's great to have on. And then what they do is throughout the show, they go to all their little Locked On people. And the Locked On people come on via stream or whatever. And so it's a very canned type show. I mean, you've got to record it and get it all put to bed, which is fine. A lot of those shows are like that. But you know what? It's a pretty. It made me think, Scotty, and I think we probably need to just focus on what we're focused on. But it did make me think, like, they've asked Pete to do this inside the 12, right? But I mean, we've got enough resources at Rogue to do a really cool. I don't know, it'd be Big 12 college football. I'm not exactly sure what we would do, but Scotty's dying right now because Scotty's had too much of this Baylor pregame show on his. That's all you need, Scotty, is me suggesting, hey, why don't we launch another show?
Let's go. Yeah.
We could do a great one. We could do that. But this weekend we've got Baylor versus Oklahoma State. Faith, Scotty, and I will be on the scene, and we'll be putting that all together. It'll be very exciting, and we want you to join us. That game starts at 2:30. Scotty, will people join us then, if I'm doing my math correct, at like 12:30?
12:30.
How will that work? Okay.
12:30. We will have our morning show on KWTX from 9 to 10:30 here locally. You can check that out. And then the live pregame show, 12:30 to 2:30 on YouTube.
Okay. That'll be fun. Let's continue with Campus Confidential, because as we speak, we have breaking news all over the place. We just had that CFP news, which is not that much. It's like that Rich Clark. By the way, Rich Clark. Yeah. Let's have him on sometime. I'm going to be kind, but doesn't it seem like all these figureheads kind of have to go, all right, well, the management committee's here to tell us what to do. And Rich Clark, it's like, who is this Rich Clark? All right. Bill Hancock used to be that guy. And boy, Bill Hancock he had a monster career in the NCAA. Love Bill Hancock. In fact, that would be a good guest to have on now that he's retired from the CFP. He could maybe be a little more open with things. And Scotty, is one of the nicest dudes. To be such a powerful guy in college athletics, he is one of the nicest guys. And sadly, I believe his son's name was Will Hancock. He was one of those people killed in the Oklahoma State plane crash where they lost, several folks that were on they were on a basketball trip, as I recall. And they had two planes, I believe, and one of them went down. And it's such a horrible, horrible moment in Oklahoma State athletics. But Bill Hancock, Will Hancock's dad, one of the all-time great dudes. All right, Scotty, what else do you have for us in Campus Confidential?
Well, it's come up several times today, and so it's only fitting that I was ready to let you know that Pro Football Focus, who, for my money, if you're trying to evaluate a player, a position group, a team fairly objectively, analytics, stats, results, I think PFF is one of your best resources out there. And they put out today, who do you think the highest rated team in college football this season is so far via PFF's rankings?
Okay. The highest rated, so it involves all aspects of O-line, D-line, all their little
correct,
things
right? So
do.
they watch film and rate every single player on every play for every team.
In a sense, this is the best, not only the best team, but maybe best roster right now. This has a lot of
according to performance thus far this season. Yep.
I feel like it's going to be somewhat surprising. This team that will jump out at us that we're thinking about. I'm also thinking of the best team so far in the Big 12, which is Tech, which makes me think, could they possibly say Texas Tech? Okay, I'll just guess Texas Tech.
The Indiana Hoosiers are the highest graded team on PFF so far this season. There's your guy, Mendoza, right there in the middle. As you said, now the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. But from top to bottom in just year two, and granted, we are still only 4 weeks into the season. But 4 weeks into the season, Coach Sig's crew, 99.5 grade overall excellent play from top to bottom for Indiana. Matt, I think the real question now is, everybody respects Indiana could finish fourth in the Big Ten every season, and we would think that was a remarkable job by Coach Sig in that conference. The question is, they do have Oregon at Oregon and Penn State at Penn State coming up on their schedule. Are they ready to compete with those guys for the very top of that conference? I think that is what remains to be seen for a program like Indiana.
I think when you go to Oregon, well, we saw what happened to OSU out there. I think with those teams you just mentioned, you're looking for the split, because even though they did make the playoff last year, they didn't do it by beating. In fact, they got beat up by Ohio State, as I recall.
They did.
Maybe 38-15. I don't know why these scores stay in my head, but somewhere along those lines. And I think of those two teams, the team they're most capable of staying with and possibly beating on the road is Penn State. Because I just think Penn State, while I think they're probably a little bit better team than Indiana, they win a lot of games, and that coach gets a ton of attention, and I understand it. But like when Michigan's at its best, which is not now, but has been, in past years, when Michigan under Harbaugh was at its best, or Ohio State under Day is at its best, which is most of the time, we should add. I don't think Penn State can hang or beat those teams. Like I wish we could, and we could look pretty quickly, but like, Scotty, can you remember like a huge win for Penn State over the past however long Franklin's been there? Let's say he's been there now, 7-8 years, something like that.
They struggle in big games, yeah.
I don't remember it. Yet they're ranked very high. They did beat SMU in the playoff last year. We got to give them that. But it's like you come into a year, for instance, and unlike with Mendoza, we thought, well, Mendoza, he might be an interesting quarterback, but nobody was touting him for the Heisman. Who were they touting for the Heisman? Aller.
Drew
the guy
Aller,
from Penn State.
Right.
Drew Aller was right up there at the head of the list. I bet if you looked at the PFF or just passer ratings right now, even though they haven't played great teams yet, Aller's not really in there. In fact, in the Heisman stuff, and I told you Mendoza had jumped up there to plus 650. I think Carson Beck's right behind him. Mateer, sadly, with the injury, falls out of that group. I don't think Aller's that far ahead of like even Arch. And Arch fell off the cliff, at this point. Now, because of where he plays, and Arch has that in a couple of weeks, Arch has the October 11th. He's got the Oklahoma game coming up. Arch could put up huge numbers and play his way back into contention. But right now, he's in a bad place. And his, it is funny to me how things settle down after a win over Sam Houston State. Sam Houston State, Scotty, is awful this season, separate of just being outmanned when they would go to play a team such as UT, even by Sam Houston State's standards, which recently they've been a little better and they've been kind of an interesting team. They're horrible this year. And so I do find it almost funny that the Texas fans go, oh, we're good now. We're good. Arch looked good. Arch threw for some touchdowns. We're good. No, you're not. I mean, the minister of culture. They've got to get that thing turned around a little bit. And
listen, let me tell you something. As the minister of culture, I have to say that Coach Sark's going to figure it out. This young man, Arch Manning, he's got something special. He's got a green light in front of him, and if he just gets back on that horse, and that's what we do in Austin, we get back on the horse, rides right through that green light. It's a good opportunity.
Matthew, first of all, you're constantly looking for ways to promote one of those books you wrote, and I'm afraid there's another one that's come out. So
my agent tells me that's what we should do is make
write
sure
books.
more people buy my books. It's good for the brand. It's good for University of Texas. It's good for Hollywood. It's good for the world.
Do you have when's the last movie you put out? I mean, is it?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm always in the latest great movie. You just got to know where to find it. It's not always that corporate stuff. I'm always making films, Matt. By the way, you have an outstanding first name.
Yeah. Appreciate that. Matches up pretty well. All right, if we can get Scotty back here in a minute. Let's do you have any more for us, Scotty, as we have Campus Confidential? Any other stories grab your attention today across college athletics?
Well, you mentioned it just for our Baylor fans. Really a bummer, and I think we kind of caught wind of this a couple weeks ago, but Scott Drew did confirm it. Michael Perez out for the season with a torn ACL. Incoming freshman from overseas, talented kid, man. Like when I was watching his film over the summer, 6'9", ball handler, shooter, get to the bucket, like potentially a really cool player to develop. And we wish him all the best. Don't know that he was going to be a leaned upon contributor for Baylor basketball this season, but certainly was going to get some minutes off the bench. One of those guys that has a very high ceiling in a couple years. Just hope and pray he recovers well and can contribute to this team in the coming seasons. But kind of a bummer coming out of Waco for Michael Perez.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't think he's the only injury they have. There was one of their big guys, I think, is also banged up, so they're going to have to. Fortunately, they have brought in a lot of depth, and boy, you're going to need Corey Carr. Is that his name?
Cameron Carr.
Cameron Carr. Yeah, I knew it sounded wrong. Somebody named Carr used to play at Texas Tech. I think they did have a Corey Carr, but that transfer from Tennessee, Carr, like I actually said recently, maybe when we had him on, Scotty, that in my mind, VJ is the greatest athlete Baylor's ever had, and that from an explosion standpoint, I mean, I would say Andre Branch and Terry Black maybe rivaled him in just in pure athleticism, but VJ probably the best athlete Baylor's ever had. And Ashley quickly commented that Carr is up there too. I mean, the key is going to be
Carr and Tunde Yesufu. As far as that stuff goes, Coach Drew's talked about that. Like they're expecting him to be that lottery pick yet again for the Bears.
I know that makes people so excited because they love the one and done.
Listen, I like having those guys at Baylor. I know there are others with problems with that. As Scott Drew said to you, doesn't everybody wish Cooper Flagg and VJ Edgecombe were on their team last season? Absolutely. Like those guys. You love them.
Oh, I would make the argument you didn't have enough of them.
Sure.
I'm not against where Scott draws the line, and we didn't get into it that day about this, but Scott does not like overdoing it with freshmen, whereas Duke's like, give me four. Give me the four best freshmen in the country in this recruiting class, and let's roll them out there and see if we can go win a national title, and they nearly did. And Baylor got VJ and Rob and kind of said we're good. Like I'm who is the oh gosh, he went in the draft, not the lottery, but he was a freshman at UConn last year, and his uncle played at his uncle was Chad Elsey. Anyway, what was his name? He was a really good player for UConn last year, Scotty. 3-point shooter, everything. And boy, when he transferred out of Indiana, he basically never started at Indiana. Okay. He was a freshman last year, ends up at UConn, and he had major interest in Baylor. And Baylor kind of gave him we're good. I say I don't want just one of them. If you can get 2 or 3, get them, because that is the attitude and the approach, that Duke takes. Now, that's not easy to do. It's not easy every year to go land 3 or 4 top 50 recruits. It's kind of crazy to be able to get 2. It's wild to get one of these top 10 guys. But to your point, Scotty, I think the thing Baylor fans are going to like about Yesufu is that while he may not be quite as skilled or athletic, he's plenty athletic, don't get me wrong. But as VJ, he's probably going to be a little more willing to be the man. VJ was a little bit probably, especially early on, deferential to the guy, the transfer from Duke and the guy from Miami and all the people they brought in. VJ had to sort of grow into a bigger role on the team. I don't think Mr. Tunde Yesufu is showing up hat in hand. Hey, who's my leader on this team? Who do I report to over here? I think now you remember that one time, Scotty, when I asked Scott for his leader, who's the biggest leader on the team, right? And he threw out a name, and it might have been Tunde. And we're kind of like, whoa, interesting. And then Scott kind of caught himself and named 7 more leaders, right? He started naming the whole roster because for whatever reason, I don't think he was comfortable at that point saying this is definitely our leader. But yeah, unfortunately, Perez is not the only guy out this season. I'll have to look at it again. But again, this could be an exciting and fun team. Are they up there right now with Iowa State, Houston, Arizona, Texas Tech? The answer is no. Now, I'm not saying that can't change, but it's just simply, as of now, that is not the case. Now, I love Dan Skilling. I do. Because he's a scorer, and he killed Baylor in those games against Baylor. He was the one guy from Cincinnati, doing it on a normal basis. Did you ever look, Scotty, to see what happened to his former teammate at Cincinnati, Jizzle James? He got kicked out of the program. I don't think we got the full story there. Has the great Jizzle James, big-time point guard from Cincinnati, has the Eagle landed anywhere? Has Jizzle?
It does not look like he has landed anywhere. When I Google his name, everything that comes up is him being removed from Cincinnati. Nothing else.
You know that former Tech player who went to Houston and then something else, and that guy decided to stay at Houston, Pop Isaac, remember him?
Yeah.
You know where he is now?
Nope.
Texas A&M.
Oh my goodness. He's just doing the Texas tour.
Buckyball has gotten himself a very interesting bunch. And Buckyball, they've asked, but the A&M people have asked if Buckyball can come on with us. And I told them, I said, here's the deal. I've taken a lot of flack recently for being a little too kind and being a little bit too whatever. I've been supportive of A&M, and we're going to have to see how Bucky does early in the season before we decide, if we want to have Bucky on or not. So there you go. There you go. Wouldn't it be nice to have somebody from the Baylor football program, to have a player? The coach won't come on with anybody. It's not just me. Won't do one-on-ones. Can you imagine? I just can't. I cannot imagine just allowing. It is an amazing thing that you have a head football coach just hey, here's what we're going to do for you. You don't have to do any one-on-ones. All right. Except, I will say, that was a great, and the thing is, he's good at it. He's good at it. I don't know. You know what happened is the PR man before this, Brent Ingram, who I love at Baylor now, he's the football guy. And if it were up to him, Dave would be doing a ton more of these interviews. But the PR man before him, Taylor Bryan, who's now at Auburn, he had Dave in the early days of Aranda doing a lot of interviews and doing things. And Dave got it in his mind that Taylor was having him do too much stuff and doing it with Taylor's, whatever. But Taylor Bryan ended up at a different school, after that. And by the way, I love Taylor's awesome too. He's at Auburn now because Taylor's great at what he does. But I'm telling you, we talked about it the other day, Scotty. Whew, Baylor has done so. If Aranda ever gets fired, it will not be because Jovan, Mac, the whole PR staff, they have done everything in their power to keep this guy happy and to keep him away from the big, bad, scary media, because no one's scarier, right, than the Waco media. Unbelievable. Okay. Did you have, Scotty, I would hate to cut you off. Did you have any more? Do we have any more breaking news, or are you good on Campus Confidential?
I'm good, brother.
Okay. I like that one. Just the voice of God. It's like Scotty doesn't even put himself on screen. He just
I'm good, Matt. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. That is, I've heard people ask me, does God ever speak to you? Does he ever? I'm like, well, I think kind of, everybody's answer is the same. I think there's certain things that happen. I feel like he does talk to me, but have you heard the voice? And sometimes, man, hopefully, I'd love to do that someday, but I don't know if I ever hear it quite like that. I'm sorry, Scotty. I was looking out to see if I'm going to be able to play tennis later. I was looking at the weather out there.
Matt, do not be seduced by the Colts in College Station.
God, I finally heard the voice of God. It seems sad that the first thing he ever reveals to me is to not be seduced by the Texas A&M Fighting Ags. They got a big one coming up. Lord, this is sacrilegious. I'm not going to act like I'm talking to God about the Aggies. Lord, help us. Help us against Auburn this weekend. Okay, it is the Mosley Show. Continuing on. Scotty, what time is it? Are we at the end of the show? Oh, no, we've got more time. Let's do this. Let's Jerry sounded off on Micah, but now we've heard from Micah. Now we've heard a little bit from Micah. And I'm very interested. We're gonna let you hear from Micah about what it's going to be like to face his old team. And then I'm going to tell you how we could be looking at one of the most embarrassing moments of the Jerry Jones era of the Dallas Cowboys. It goes all the way back to 1989. That is next.
When Central National Bank decided to partner with Baylor women's basketball, we were hoping Coach Collin would bring that championship mindset to do whatever she has to do to take our workplace culture to the next level.
Well, these donuts are pretty good.
Guys, how we doing?
We're good, Coach.
Craig! What are you doing?
What do you mean?
You have to dunk it.
So far, I think our employees are really enjoying it.
Not everything's a basketball thing.
Did you say something, Craig?
No, ma'am.
That's what I thought.
Dude, I think she likes you.
Central National Bank, proud partner of Baylor Athletics and Baylor Women's Basketball.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code Mosley to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code MOSLEY. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play-and-get-terms_DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369.
Welcome back, Mosley Show. Hey, you just saw the ad from Underdog. Wanted to let you know real quick what I picked in case you want to follow along with me. Play the games on Underdog, higher or lower on player stats. I made some college football picks here, and I avoided my Baylor Bears because I've been a little frustrated with those outcomes. So here's what I decided to pick for this weekend's action. Josh Hoover, higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns against Arizona State. I think that's a very safe decision there. Haynes King, beast on the ground for Georgia Tech so far this season. Georgia Tech, by the way, another one of my sneaky picks to make those playoffs. He will have a rushing touchdown, in my opinion, so I picked higher than half a rushing plus reception touchdown for Haynes King against Wake Forest. Fernando Mendoza, we just talked about him, new Heisman Trophy favorite. He will have more, higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns against Iowa. And then I know he had a rough week last week against Texas Tech, but once again, I'm riding with Devin Dampier against a fairly poor West Virginia defense to have higher than 53.5 rushing yards. That was my pick on Underdog this week. I hope you'll join me. Join Matt. Remember to use that promo code Mosley. Underdog will give you $50 just to play with when you play with your first 5. That's promo code Mosley. Check out Underdog. Join me and playing Underdog Sports.
All right. It is the Mosley Show. Scotty, give me it's I like just kind of jumping right back in there on the Mosley Show. Good to hear you talking some Underdog. And Scotty, let me ask you a question. Do we have that Micah?
We do.
Okay, awesome. I just want to, Scotty always does, but I didn't want to call for something and not have it, but that'll be good. We were joking about it earlier, Scotty. I will just say the circumstances around the Cowboys right now, you've got Dak, you've got the return of Micah, you've got your right guard out for several weeks. Your Tyler Booker, the starting rookie guard from, that honestly from Alabama. And then you got Cooper Beebe banged up. Now, the good news for the Cowboys fans, not that you root for the other team's injuries, but the Packers have major injuries on their O-line. They'll probably be missing 2 of their starters for sure. They're starting right tackle. It looks like they're starting left guard. Now, Micah, there's a couple of things that have happened related to Micah. One of those is Cowboys are not doing a tribute video. Now, that's fine. I mean, would it be the nice thing to do, given for 4 years he put up monstrous numbers? Yeah. But it ended poorly. It ended in a holdout. The two sides went back and forth. Jerry's all excited about his draft picks now. So no honoring Micah. And Micah's trying to play this thing down a little bit, but he is coming in. He's going to come in with a vengeance. And I believe that, and I've seen some embarrassing days for the Cowboys. Some of them happened even early in Jimmy and Jerry's time together. But, of course, they overcame that by winning 3 Super Bowls. At least Jimmy was here for 2 of them, but he built the teams that won 3, along with Jerry's, I'll just say, so we don't get in a big fight or anything. But, I mean, this Micah situation is – I've seen a lot of homecomings, T.O., when he came in and he did the thing on the Star, then he actually signed with the Cowboys. I've seen Parcells go back to places where he used to be, whether it be the Patriots, that whole situation with Kraft, his situation when he would return to the play against the Giants, when he was with the Cowboys. I've just seen all these sort of homecomings and reacted to them. This has the potential to just be the most humiliating. For instance, Dan Campbell played for the Cowboys. They lost a tough game on a controversial ending a couple of years ago. So Detroit came back last year and ran up the score on the Cowboys, and it was embarrassing and all of that. This has the potential with Micah Parsons coming back to town to just be rub your face in it awful. I mean, think about what the Cowboys have faced so far. Russell Wilson, who's already lost his job as the starter, 450 yards and how many? 4 touchdown throws. Caleb Williams just won the NFC Player of the Week. He's never won one of those. He went crazy. He had 4 touchdowns. He had 298 yards. Everybody got all these free hot dogs because he got 4 touchdowns at this famous Chicago hot dog stand. It's embarrassing week after week. And to think that the Packers aren't going to come in and put up huge numbers, and then the only thing saving Dak Prescott and the Cowboys from maybe like a 4 or 5 sack performance by Micah is if this thing gets completely out of hand early and they pull Micah and he doesn't play in the second half. Now, hopefully this thing stays close and the Cowboys come out and they find a way on offense and they ground and pound and they move the ball and they make some big plays to Pickens. Who knows? Maybe they could get some things done on offense. But the thought of the defense stopping anybody seems to be completely out of the realm. What I'd like to do, though, let's listen to where Micah is. I'm going to listen, and then I'm going to give you the truth serum. I'm going to say he's being fake, he's being real. I'm going to tell you what Micah's really thinking here. This was Micah talking about sacking the quarterback, and then he's going to make a comment about the potential of sacking one Dak Prescott.
The last guy ever to sack Tom Brady. It happened in that playoff game. Is there any quarterback that you've enjoyed taking down more than anyone else?
Probably is Tom, because every time I see him, it's a competitive matchup, whether it's on the field, off the field, whether it's golf or Fanatics games, he's always trying to be the best. So when you can say you're the last person to take out an elite competitor like Tom, it's a special privilege.
And what if you get that opportunity? I know you will want to with Dak. What would that feel like?
It's gonna be painful. You know what I mean? Dak's my guy. He was always like a good mentor for me. But you know what it is. I always told him if I ever face him that it'll be a great matchup. So I'm excited to see what Sunday brings itself.
It will be painful because he's my mentor. Smart to just play it straight like that. Interesting, Scotty, just to give a little context to who he did that interview with. Rob Motti, long time, I think he was Philadelphia based. I forget where Rob's based, but Associated Press, known for playing it right down the middle. Somebody had to set that interview up with the AP. It's an interesting week. So instead of doing his own podcast, and we'll see what his media availability sounds like, because I promise you the Cowboys media, and I think they still do it this way, you usually request a member of the opposing team and you get them on a certain day, and they would have requested Micah Parsons. That's how it used to be. But if they put him with the AP, it could be a sign that they're trying to not make a big deal out of this. Let me just tell you why I think him playing it down and acting like it would be painful to sack Micah is not him being real. There were teammates like CeeDee Lamb and others who acted heartbroken when they traded Micah Parsons. And I say acted, I think take them at their word. I think that's fine. I think they were. I think there were some of his teammates, whether it be Osa or some of the others that swore by him and had a great relationship with him and said, hey, that's my guy. I think all those reactions were, genuine. Who from the Cowboys did not react as heartbroken and upset when the trade was made? That would be Dak Prescott, who basically said, hey, it's business. These things happen. We got to go on. We got to talk about the players who are here. If we agree that Micah is pretty media savvy, intelligent, all those things, and I think I would agree, and I would be the first person saying that. If you don't think Micah Parsons has picked up on the lack of the quarterback, the empathy, and hey, how can you have much empathy for somebody who's making $47 million a year? But the reaction from from Dak was different from some of the other teammates. Micah knew, and Micah was watching to see how his former teammates and how Jerry and everybody reacted to this. He doesn't want to say it, but Micah, again, he ends up with the deal he wanted, the deal of a lifetime, whatever. But Micah felt embarrassed, jilted, and disrespected from the way Jerry treated not only his agent, but him. And throughout that whole process through training camp. And the quarterback of the team, Dak Prescott, did not, in the aftermath or even really during it. He did express that he wanted a deal to get done, but I would not say that he was constantly stumping for his teammate. So I think Micah Parsons is going to walk into that stadium as a man on fire on Sunday night. And what you could get, if you don't think this is capable of being like a 38-7 game, you're not paying any of attention. Even with the offensive line hurt, this quarterback has plenty of weapons around him to get the job done. And here come those Packers. And here comes Micah Parsons. As a famous former Cowboys player said, get your popcorn ready. That was an old T.O. thing. And Scotty, one time after one of those games, T.O., in the aftermath of one of those games, he stood up there and he called out and came after a young Matt Mosley, who had apparently said some things he didn't care for on the radio that week, called me by name and said, I heard that, Matt Mosley, which turned into a great, promo. We immediately turned it into a promo. I tell you, we got much more to come this week. It is Packers week. It's Parsons week. It is the landing. We love it. We love the Brazos landing. Even in times of great stress and sadness with these Baylor Bears, we know that leading up to that week against Kansas State, we're going to go right over to the landing. And on that Thursday before that Kansas State game, we're going to gather there. And from 1 to 3, we're going to have a big time. And whoever decides to come in for lunch that day, it's going to be a fun time. The Mosley Show will be there. We'll be having a good time. There'll be some giveaways. And the main thing is come get you some Bang Bang shrimp. Last night I went to get some hush puppies and an oyster po' boy at a famous place in Dallas, S&D Oyster Company. And it was great. And I loved it. I love going there. But it's not the Brazos Landing. It's not looking out over that river. And it's not there with the wonderful Lindsay family. Thank you to C&B. Thank you, Central National Bank. Thank you for being thank you, Ascension Providence. Thank you so much. And for Cherry, Johnson, Sigmund, James, thank you for what you do. Schmaltz's, we got the big trivia contest coming up. Schmaltz's. Love the schmaltz. Love everything it represents. Love all those meats that are on there, the cheeses, and then that special time of year when you do the special bread. Oh, my gosh. The jalapeno cheese bread. Scotty's probably headed over there right now, see if he can secure some of that. Or just that normal focaccia bread, the beautiful bread that they have. I get it toasted. In fact, I'll do kind of a twice baked. I'll say twice. Go ahead and really get that thing good and charred. And that's how I like my bread with those beautiful schmaltz sandwiches. For Scotty Swingler and the entire Rogue family, we've loved doing this with you today. We will be with you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Good night, everybody.